What if the smart system that saves pennies at the pump is actually wearing out your battery, starter, and engine? Every traffic light. I'm talking about automatic start-stop, and it's just the start. Today, we'll expose the cascade. How lane keep assist fails with a dirty windshield. Why adaptive cruise goes blind in fog. And how a single recall level over-the-air update can freeze your entire dashboard. Watch to the end for the checklist of features you should shut off before they drain your wallet, and the 5-minute habit that beats TPMS, Eco Mode, and Auto High Beams. Your dash flashes a green leaf, your MPG bar nudges up a hair, and yet owners keep dropping $1,500 to $2,000 on replacement batteries every few years. Where's the win? Automatic start-stop cuts the engine at red lights to trim idle fuel burn. Eco Mode dulls throttle response and upshifts early, keeping revs low to save fuel. On paper, that sounds tidy. In traffic, it's a different story, because making that promise work demands hardware and fluids that take a beating much sooner than anyone tells you at delivery. To survive constant restarts, many cars use AGM or EFB deep cycle batteries and heavier starters. They're tougher than a standard battery, but the job is harsher too. Every hot restart pushes oil off the bearings for a split second until pressure rebuilds, and those split seconds add up in stop and go. Oil thins when hot and shears faster with frequent boundary contact. Meanwhile, Eco Mode locks the transmission into tall gears at low RPM. That lugging raises cylinder pressures, which promotes knock and encourages carbon to bake onto valves and piston crowns. Over time, that buildup adds heat, traps fuel, and makes the next restart even harsher. Let's talk costs you actually feel. An AGM battery in a modern sedan or crossover often rings in at $300 to $500 for the part, and installed totals commonly hit $450 to $700. Luxury models push higher. Starters built for start-stop can land from $600 to over $1,200 installed, depending on access and brand. In urban driving, those components cycle far more often, so lifespans shrink. A conventional battery might go 5 years in highway use, but 3 years is common with heavy city start-stop. Oil that could stretch to 7,500 miles on gentle highway use starts to look tired at 5,000 miles or sooner when subjected to frequent hot restarts and low RPM lugging. Let it ride, and you invite varnish, stuck rings, and a noisier start sequence. Here's a real-world arc you've probably seen. A city commuter with a compact SUV replaces the AGM at around 36 months. The car starts to crank long on summer days. Stop-start stops working, and the shop upsells the higher-spec battery. 2 years later, the starter drags and intermittently fails to re-engage after the 5th light of the morning. By 60,000 miles, the starter is replaced. The owner gained a marginal fuel tick on the dash, but spent 4 figures on wear items they never priced into the Eco Promise. The gas savings at the pump never covered the hardware bill. When you look at controlled testing, Eco Mode often shows minimal to zero real-world economy gains in mixed driving, especially where traffic forces constant deceleration and reacceleration. Drivers report lazier throttle, awkward shifts, and a car that hesitates when they need a gap. That hesitation sends the transmission hunting, slipping into higher gears too soon, then dropping back when the engine knocks or strains. That cycle piles on transmission heat and clutch wear while offering little measurable MPG benefit away from steady highway cruising. Keep this in mind as we get to the big number. Long-term lugging and light knock beat on rod bearings and piston skirts. Add carbon that retains heat, and you have the recipe for scuffing, oil consumption, and eventually that deep metallic rattle that ends with a tow. Mix in early converter lockup and tall gearing, and your transmission sees extra shock loads. The repair that follows can touch $8,000 when bottom end bearings or a transmission overhaul enter the chat. The fix is simple and boring, which is good. Disable start-stop by default if your car lets you, and skip Eco Mode in city traffic. Use a 5,000-mile oil interval with the correct spec and a quality filter, especially if your drive is short trips. You'll get cleaner restarts, smoother shifts, and far less wear over time. If the so-called fuel saver can nibble away at your wallet, what happens when a safety sensor blinks out because of a bug splat? How can a $10 stone chip or a bug splat sideline lane keep assist and adaptive cruise and still leave you holding a 4-figure bill? Because those features depend on a chain of parts that all have to agree, all the time. And a tiny interruption can break the whole conversation. Start with the forward camera tucked behind the windshield. Add a radar unit in the grille or behind the badge. Tie in the steering angle sensor on the column, the electric power steering motor that actually nudges the wheel, and the control modules that arbitrate what the car should do. All of that only works if the sensors see clearly and the data lines up within tight tolerances. When the view gets blocked or the alignment drifts, the car goes from semi-assistant to system unavailable with a chime and a dash full of icons. Real roads aren't controlled test tracks. Sun glare blows out the camera. Fog turns radar returns into clutter. A thin film of road grime on the windshield can be enough to trip a camera fault. Small motorcycles and cyclists don't reflect like a full-size SUV, which makes edge cases more frequent. When the inputs look wrong, the system times out, throws a code, or drops offline mid-drive. You're back in full manual with a warning that wants a service appointment. Here's a common one you'll see after a rock strike. You replace the windshield, swap in glass with the camera window, and the lane keep icon stays gray. The camera needs recalibration so its center matches the car's actual path. Shops do this with targets, lasers, and a road test. The invoice includes alignment checks and calibration labor. Expect $300 to $600 for that visit, and it can climb if the manufacturer requires dynamic and static procedures. Another low-drama hit with a high tab is a parking scrape that nudges the front radar bracket. Nothing looks broken, but now adaptive cruise control faults out and cruise is gone. The bracket sits millimeters from spec, so the module thinks the world shifted. If the bracket won't adjust or the radar fails its verification, parts and labor jump. Replacing that radar can push into the thousands once you add removal, coding, and the calibration session that follows. Tests and owner reports keep repeating the same pattern. Lane keep and adaptive cruise struggle when rain beads on the glass, when snow cakes a sensor face, or when road film dulls contrast. Performance becomes inconsistent, with timeouts and sudden warnings. It isn't that the tech never works, it's that the margin for mess is thin, and nature loves messy. Costs rise fast when sensors live where bumps happen. Blind spot monitors sit at bumper corners, right where carts and car wash brushes hit. A gentle tap can misalign the unit inside a painted housing. Even if the cover looks fine, a sensor that reads off-axis becomes unreliable. Replacement can approach $3,000 when you include the sensor, bracket, clips, a new painted cover, and the labor to blend paint. Then comes the $500-ish calibration session so the car trusts the reading again.